Ziyandisokolisa ezizihlangu ndizithengelwe ngumama.
Love it.
Ziyandisokolisa ezizihlangu ndizithengelwe ngumama. Kodwa ndiyode ndifike, ndiyode ndifike mntakamama. Kodwa ndiyode ndifike, ndiyode ndifike mntakamama.
Hello and welcome to the Sincerely Sindz podcast, hosted by myself, Zolani Mahola, also known as Sindz. Wow, thank you so much for listening to the podcast and setting time to do that. I had the beautiful honor of sitting down with Zolani Mahola, now formerly known as the one who sings. Those of you who know the song Doobie Doo, I will know who I'm talking about. A wise and talented soul, really, whose amazing voice brings all the sweetest childhood memories for me. So we talked about it all, man. So please enjoy. Also, I'd love if you could leave your comments in the comment section, or you can just email me your thoughts on sincerelysindpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you once again and enjoy. So today I have the beautiful, amazing, kind-hearted Zolani Mahola Klimp. Is that how I pronounce your name?
I can't believe you said my whole surname.
Because I saw it in the email, and I was like,
that is my whole surname. I am a Mahola Klimp.
Okay, love it. And you're now formally known as the one who sings.
Yes.
But you're also a mother. You're also an actress. You're a whole-round artist is what I'd like to describe it as.
Fully.
How do you introduce yourself to the world?
Sure.
When you wake up, how do you say, okay, this is Zolani and this is who I am?
It's a really pertinent question, and I think that for me the answer to that question would be that my morning routine is to do with waking me up to myself as opposed to the world. So I've really been enjoying, particularly over the past year, meditating as one of the first things that I do in the morning. Because I feel like it really sets me on course for who I intrinsically, authentically am before I'm a mother, before I'm an actress, before I'm a singer, everything, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Because I find, even if it's just 10 minutes of just quiet, it makes so much of a difference. And you just react differently to things.
I agree.
Yeah. So affirmations that you affirm. Because I read a lot of your captions and it's just affirmation after affirmation. Just like, yes.
I love affirmations.
Yes. Do you? Same, yeah.
I love affirmations.
Do you have your regular morning affirmations that you wake up to?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I actually don't. But what I find is that when I do my meditations, I always am listening out for the message. Mm-hmm. When you're meditating, it's not like you're sitting there and there's no thoughts.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to fight off the thoughts. Mm-hmm. That can be quite counterproductive. Trying to fight the thoughts. So I try to be aware of them and just sort of let them go by, and then every now and again there are moments of stillness that happen. It's like when you shake up one of those glass bowls with the snowflakes, and then it shakes, and then they all come down and they start to settle, and then once that settling process has happened, I feel like there's usually a message that comes through for me, and it can be a word.
Yeah.
Today, my word was, it was stillness, and it was openness. Be still and be open.
Don't you think it just correlates with what we're doing now? Because, now...
Totally.
Yeah, because we're just in a moment where we're just going to be open and talking.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And is this thing I read. There's this line I read in one of your captions. Yeah, I've been stalking you.
Good. I'm glad. Good research. Good.
You make mention of the statement emotional education and how we should all strive to seek that. Do you mind just
Yeah,
more about that?
I can easily talk about that. I came to a realization a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, that I am kind of a little bit emotionally, I don't know, I needed to educate myself because I didn't know what I was feeling. Often I couldn't pinpoint the emotions that I was feeling, particularly if those emotions were not like the pleasant ones or the happy ones, the joyful ones. That's easy. That's very easy for me to identify. And I realized the reason why through a whole process of just self-investigation.
Yeah.
It's that when I was small, I didn't feel like I had the permission to feel everything that I felt. I felt as though if I felt something that was anger or confusion or those the sticky emotions, I couldn't express that. I felt like it wasn't safe for me to express those, that the adults in my life, whether actively or subconsciously, maybe they didn't even know, I got the message that it wasn't appropriate, and so it felt it was unsafe. So as I was growing up, I feel like I had quite a narrow spectrum of experiencing and reflecting my emotions. So what I would do then is that I would, whenever emotions came up that weren't permissible, I would numb them. So I would numb them through watching a lot of TV, reading a lot of books, anything to escape my reality. And then, of course, later, the escaping of reality, the stakes became higher. Then it became alcohol, sort of intimacy, like physical contact without real intimacy, in a way that was actually abusive and harmful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you make mention of how you escaped to books. Because when I listened to your first album with Freshly Ground, it was very...
Chica Chica? Or Nomvula?
Nomvula.
Because Chica Chica is actually our first album.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of us know. They're like, oh.
It's true. But that's fair.
Okay, so Nomvula, the album. A lot of... Buttercup is like still my favorite. Literally, my friends
Awesome.
Because it just takes me to a place I don't even know where it is, but it's just a beautiful, whimsical place.
Yes.
And as I listen to more of your songs, they just take you on a journey. And would you say that is influenced by your reading as a child?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love story. I love other realities. I love those journeys that you can go into simply by opening. She's just opening this body of papers.
Yeah.
And bam, you are transported.
Yeah.
It's a magical thing.
It is.
It really is.
And I think you just deliver it so beautifully. Like,
thank you.
And your voice, and it's just like, wow.
Thank you. No, I love telling stories.
Yeah.
And I love, as you pointed out, I love doing it through song.
Through song. Amazing. And so you came to Cape Town. Why Cape Town?
Good question.
So you came here, just for context.
Yes.
You came here for varsity to learn to study drama and arts, right?
Absolutely.
Why Cape Town?
So I had initially wanted to go to Rhodes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Rhodes because I came from Port Elizabeth, from PE, and I wanted to go to Rhodes because I already had, through the Grahamstown Festival and through going to Eisteddfods and things in Grahamstown during my high school career, to do, public speaking or acting things. I'd come to be aware of the university there, and that one of the best actors that this country's ever produced, and I think the world has produced, Andrew Buckland, was teaching there. And so I thought, obviously the place that I'm going to go to study acting is going to be Grahamstown. So I applied, and for some reason it just didn't work out. I don't know. Maybe it was the paperwork. It was a lot of paperwork.
That essay. I think they want like 3 essays. Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing that.
Paperwork.
Yep.
So then somebody suggested that I also just apply to UCT. And that hadn't occurred to me. It hadn't occurred to me to go so far away from home. But however it happened that I got to audition for UCT, physically audition in Grahamstown. So I went and I did that, and it was a really great audition, and they gave me a bursary.
Wow.
And then I was going to Cape Town.
So you even got a bursary. That's amazing.
Even got a bursary. Yeah.
So what made you choose? What came to you to tell, okay, this is what you should be doing? Acting is your thing, singing is your thing. Because I was like, how did you discover your voice? Your voice is just. I will not stop saying how amazing your voice is.
A funny thing about that is that I didn't think that was like so special. My main thing was my craft of acting, was theatre making. I knew that I was very good on stage, acting. So what made me follow the acting was that was really the only thing, that and English and history. I was good at those things. But the thing that really made me special and shine was as an actress. So there wasn't an option. You know when it's like super clear.
Yeah.
And there was nobody to be telling me, oh, you should be a doctor. There was nobody in my family who was telling me what to do, which was great.
Yeah, it was like an advantage.
It is an advantage. It's a massive advantage.
Nobody's screaming in your ear.
No, nobody was being like, oh no, Pete, do accounting because you're going to earn money. I told my dad, and he was like, oh, really? Acting? Okay.
Oh, that's so amazing.
I don't think that he even tried to talk me out of it. He supported me, and I went off. And then the singing happened really quite by the way. While I was at UCT in my first year of at Res at Clarinus. I don't know if it's still called that now.
Clarinus.
What is it called now?
Clarinus.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when I was studying here in 2000, there was Clarendon and Clarinus.
Yeah, it's still there.
And Clarinus was the women's campus and the women's whatever side, and Clarendon was the guys. So as I was singing in the hallway, one day this girl saw me, heard me, and she was like, oh, these guys on the guys' side, they're looking for a singer for a band. And I went to go to the guy's room, and he was playing Skunk and Nancy, which is like this ska awesome outfit with this black lead singer called Skin, who was like my ultimate favorite, and he played one of their songs, and I sang to it, and he was like, cool, you got the job. So that was my first singing thing. That was the first time that I ever. So then I was part of that band for a little bit, but I wasn't really still taking it that seriously. So I got fired from that band because I was a stoner. I was a serious stoner, and I didn't come to a few rehearsals, and I didn't come to a gig, and then they fired me. And I was like, fine, it wasn't a thing anyway. And then about a year after that is when I was singing in a play at UCT. And a guy who was doing a drama as a subject, he saw me in the play, and he said he just started an outfit. Would I come and see them in OBS? On the Friday, I went to go see them, and it was cool. It was like mostly instrumental. He saw me, and he invited me to come onto the stage and sing with them, and I did. And that was my first day with what would then become known as Freshly Ground.
Without any rehearsals.
2002. Without any rehearsals, yes.
That's destiny.
It was.
That's what we call destiny. So would you...
I think so.
Is there any artist that you looked up to, like, when you were growing up?
Oh, tons.
Yeah?
You mean like internationally?
Yeah, just any artist. That
Oh, I
you
mean,
like.
certainly, in those, I grew up I was born in 81, so when I was coming of age and sort of aware of popular music, it probably was, towards the end of the 80s, early 90s, being very into all sorts of things from here, musicians like Brenda Fassie for sure.
Yeah.
Musicians like Hugh Masekela for sure, Splash. Then later there was the Bongo Muffins.
Oh, yes.
I mean, of course, and then there was the other side, then there was Motown. There were the Manhattans, the Commodores, Stevie Wonder.
Oh, yeah.
And then I started getting interested in alternative music. I started listening to Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, all of
I love how you tried to remember
things.
all of them. Like, yes.
Yeah, Skunk and Nancy, as I mentioned. Yeah, I mean, so a mishmash, really. Really, and then of course, as I was growing, I had a stepmom who was a sangoma, so we had a lot of traditional ceremonies that would happen at our home. So really getting very deep into the roots of traditional Xhosa music.
Yeah.
So it was a whole beautiful mishmash.
Yeah, because you've had 16 years of experience in the industry, right? Is it
17?
17. Oh, that's amazing. And you've stayed true to who you are in your jazz sense, and just your music and how you write, and like in this world we live in now, it's like there's a lot of cultural imperialism where we're just taking things and outsourcing things from outside. But how do you check in with yourself? How do you say, okay, I recognize what's going on now, but I'm sticking to what I know. And
I don't know that has always been true in my 17-year career. I think that I've always borrowed from the world and from everything. I mean, I think as a human, I speak for myself. I have, I have borrowed from everything. I've done all sorts of things with my hair. I've done all sorts of things with my style. For me, it's just gotta feel good to me. And then it doesn't have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to be the same look.
Yeah.
I remember going. There were 2 points in my career where I got some flack, let's say, from the public, and one of those was when I started putting weaves in my hair. I really
didn't see those pictures.
I love to play. So I loved playing around with like different kind of textures and colors. So I went through this massive patch where I played around with different colored weaves and styles that were like really radically unusual. But people thought that was not who I was supposed to be. I was supposed to hold up the flag of the natural girl, because that's what they had made up their minds that that's who I was.
True.
And so I was not to step out of that box, and that was quite weird. And then the other thing was when I lost a lot of weight, because I had openly said that I'm very happy with my weight with the song Pot Belly, which was very true at the time, until I wasn't. I mean, I got to a stage where I was very much overweight. I'm very short, and I got to a point where there was just too much that was hanging on me to support my actual, the proper function of my body. So I went on a radical journey to shed, and people took offense with that. I think for me, the lesson that I've taken from those 2 experiences is that you're never going to please everyone.
Yeah.
So stop trying.
Yeah, that is true. No one's ever happy because they're not happy with themselves as well.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So we just all got to do what makes us happy, as long as we are not harming anyone.
Yeah, that's true.
It is, and And the only way that you're going to know that you're on the right track is if it really feels deeply within yourself good and right and true.
Yeah. I think we can move on to self-love. I always love asking people because I'm just on this search for different definitions of self-love. And I'm constantly redefining what self-love is for me. How would you say self-love is to you?
I might say different things on different days, but for now, I think it's like an appreciation of yourself. And it's like really seeing yourself. Funnily enough, this year, I saw a woman who was a self-love coach.
Oh.
Faith Mayer is her name. Wonderful girl with this massive afro and huge smile. Incredible girl. But I realized that there was a disconnect. I had a disconnect with myself. Like I had a fear of getting close to myself. And even like deeper, I couldn't see myself. Like I couldn't physically see who I was, like physically. I couldn't see my face. And then even more to that, I couldn't, I had the thing of the feelings of not knowing what I was feeling. So for me, what it has come to me now after doing that process is giving yourself the time to really connect with yourself, seeing yourself, appreciating and accepting yourself. All of that. Self-love.
Did you, just out of curiosity, did you meet with the self-coach before your...
before my show? Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That was a massive help towards making that show even a reality.
Yeah. And I just want to congratulate you on having a sold-out show.
Thank you.
It was amazing. I remember I cried the first 10 minutes, and when you sang Nombola, I was just in tears. And the lady sitting next to me was like, "Are you okay?" Because I just felt so nostalgic because my aunt got me the CD, and she passed on like 2 years ago.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So, and to hear that, actually this song relates to you, your personal story as well, it's just like, whew, wow. And then that's when I was like, I really need to talk to you.
Oh, great. And then you made it happen.
I made it happen. I stood out, I was like, I'm not leaving.
You made it happen. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Your music has really made my childhood. You have no idea.
Amazing. Amazing that I was able to be a part of that. Me and Freshly Ground.
Yes.
For sure.
So thank
That's
you
wonderful.
for that. And your story speaks about forgiveness. It speaks about release. It speaks about survival. It speaks about love as well. And I love how you ended it by saying that we are all accountable for our actions, and we shouldn't go seeking help from the government, because at the end we should be responsible for each other and what we hope to see in South Africa. And I think a lot of artists don't spread that message that often. What made you include that part in your play?
Well, a slight correction is that we can't solely rely on the government. And certainly we can't use them as an excuse to be inactive, or use their, whatever we perceive as their lack of fulfilling their mandate, to stop us actually actively taking our personal lives, our community, that of our country, in our own hands, and really having the agency of envisioning, that's the word, envisioning the South Africa that we want, the kind of world that we want at large, and actually realizing that we have personal power.
Yeah.
So basically with my inclusion of sort of saying that we can't wait for Ramaphoria, we can't wait for Ramaphosa to save us. It's easy for us to wait to be led, and if those leaders fail, then to just hold up our hands and say, well, look,
Yeah.
what a mess.
Yeah.
Well, what are we going to do about it? It's this is our country. These are our lives.
Yeah.
This is our future.
I always say there's one of him, and there's so many of us.
Absolutely.
How do you put so much power in the hands of just one or 12 people?
No.
And there's so
If
many
you
of us.
then if you also, and then I'm not saying that people must not be politically active, and I'm not saying that we don't need to hold our leaders to account.
Mm-hmm. What
What I'm saying is there needs to be action on our part. We can't.
Absolutely.
So if the action is holding them to account, then hold them to account. Don't just go to Australia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then hold them to account. Then, you know what I mean? Don't just stay in your house and drink
Yeah.
and beat your wife.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
how do you perceive the world today as a black woman, as an artist, as a mother? Like, what kind of hopes do you have for your children?
I have a lot of hope.
Yeah.
I have so much hope. I'm full of hope.
That's great.
I'm full of hope.
Me too.
And I think that what I would like to do with my work going forward, and what I would have loved to have left people with the show, The One Who Sings, is a sense that once we take our own personal stories and our own personal lives on, and sort of really be curious about our own stories and decide the direction that we want for our own stories, it becomes easier to be hopeful about the future.
Mm.
Once we all sort of standing in the middle of ourselves, it becomes that much easier for us to be an example for the next person. It becomes that much easier for us to see all of the things that we have overcome in our own stories that have made us these strong and brave individuals that we are, to see the power that we have to affect change not only in our own lives, but in our world at large. I think that's where the change happens. It starts at an individual level. It starts with your story, with my story.
Why do you think people are afraid to tell their stories?
Well, people are not only afraid to tell their stories, people are also afraid to look at their own stories.
Yeah.
It's because we have been traumatized.
Yeah.
I mean, there are massive traumas in our country, certainly as black people.
Mm.
I mean, that is like right up there. Black nations have been, sure.
Yeah.
It's almost too big a word.
Yeah.
But because we don't live in isolation. That trauma, it's ours, but it's not only ours. Have you ever been in a situation where you have used your power over somebody? Like, let's say you've bullied someone. I've been in a situation, all right? I've used my privilege or my power over somebody. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed?
Yeah.
How it really doesn't feel good?
You don't sleep at night.
So now imagine you are born white in South Africa. You were told you are the master race, right? Your church tells you that, your schooling tells you that, the world really tells you that.
Yeah.
And it's normal, you grow up, it's normal. Yes, you have this black maid and you love her, but at the end, like you're a million times better than her. And then, you get a bit older, then you start to actually have questions now. Now there are conflicts.
Mm.
Now you are an adult, and there are real questions that in your being you can feel like, hang on, this is not right, and yet I'm being told this, or I've believed this. There is a split that will happen in you.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people have dealt with that trauma by just shutting down.
Mm.
You know, it's the same story of what I've done. You know, that you just escape those feelings. You're just like, this is the way it is, and that's it. We put that in a box.
Mm.
So there's been trauma all across. You know, I'm talking colored people, I'm talking Indian, all of us in this land have serious trauma that we carry with us. There's that, and then there's just within families. You know what I mean? Just within families, just within us growing up, as from being a child, growing up to being a teenager. There are traumas. There are all of these little things that sit in our bodies, and that, like, you know, make us a little bit bent here and there, and they sit in our spirits and they kink, and so we all carry these stories, you know, and it's hard to look at them, because at a certain point they become this monster. For me, that monster became raging alcoholism. You know, for me, the monster became not being able to look at my stuff to the extent where the thing that I was using as my medicine became my torturer. You know, became I couldn't survive a day without drinking alcohol. You know, and that was even with a tiny little baby.
Yeah. Coming on to that, now that you have conquered your addiction, how did you?
I don't know that I've conquered my addiction.
Okay, yeah.
It's like it's a daily process, and the funny thing with addiction is that it pops up in many different ways. So I might not be drinking, but that impulse to escape, that impulse is there. So I can do it in any number of ways. I can escape into my phone. You know, I can use my addiction in my phone. I can use my addiction with sex. I can use my addiction with food. You know, so I don't know if there's any such thing as like a conquered.
I think I said that because you've managed to talk about it.
Okay, fully.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because, you know, as soon as someone can say it, it's like you've gone from the place of recognizing and accepting and trying to fix it.
100%.
Yeah, though I think I meant it from that perspective.
No, then I get you. I get you totally.
And so, you know, you make mention in the play that you then became a mother in the midst of your addiction. So when you found healing, when you found help, were there times when you reflected and felt guilty, you know, mommy guilt of yeah, because
for sure.
Yeah. And how did you forgive yourself for those moments?
Good. Good question.
Yeah, because for myself, I have a 3-year-old son, and yeah, so I wasn't. Thank you. He's cute.
Sure.
And you know, I wasn't fully present I was there, but I cannot tell you some of the things that happened because literally my mind blocked out a lot of moments. You know,
I understand.
Part of it being because I wasn't ready. So I have a lot of things blocked out, but now it's like I want to make up for it because now I'm in a better headspace, you know, and I'm just like constantly just making up for it the best way I know how to, and I'm still in the process of forgiving myself for not being fully present.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I say something to you?
Yeah.
Don't make up.
Okay.
That child doesn't need to feel as though you feel, doesn't need to feel your involvement as a heavy thing. You know, that child doesn't need to forgive you. That child knows you love that child. That child chose you.
Literally, yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
That child chose you, so now you just release it. Just release, and all you do now is you just love.
Yeah.
You love freely. You release yourself. There is no point to holding on.
I love that.
There is no point to holding on. Now you just imagine you got these like cement bags that you're carrying around with you. It's only you now who's policing this. You're policing the holding of this now.
That is
You
so
got
true.
this whip that is like holding these. Just let them go. There's so much life to live.
Yeah.
There's so much life to live.
There is.
We don't need to be holding on.
That is so true. Yeah.
And you know what? It's actually as easy as just jumping into the sea and saying, I forgive myself. That's it. It's done. It's as easy as writing it on a piece of paper and burning it. It's done.
That's true.
It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Are you feel lighter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually done. So I did feel a lot of guilt and anguish. It was mostly while I was in active addiction. Once I was out of it, and once I was looking at my stuff and seeing, oh, this is where that action, that behavior comes from. Oh, okay, and now I can see how that behavior, which is linked to this feeling about myself, plays out in all these different scenarios. So now I have awareness, and now I have choices. So once I have choices, I know that I can choose to hold on or I can choose to release. And I look at my children and I know I can see that they are free.
So happy.
I can see that they are free.
They are.
And I can see that when I was in active addiction and I was full of guilt and shame, there was a heaviness around my being with them, around my love actually, because it was like, I really love you. I want to prove that I really, really love you, and it was actually too much, and they were pushing back in subtle ways.
Because kids know the most authentic love.
Yeah,
Because they are the most
know.
authentic
Yeah,
love.
you know.
Yeah.
You know.
They're the most
They just love it when you just hang out with them. You know, they just love being in your company.
Yeah, that is so true. Would you consider yourself a passionate lover? Do you show your love in like hugs, kisses, or just words?
Yeah, no, touch is an important sense for me. Very important sense. I don't remember my mother. She died when I was when I was between 6 and 7, and you would think that I would have more memories of her because I was, wasn't like super young, but I think the trauma of having lost her, my mind,
So
to
sorry.
protect myself, to protect myself, let go of most of my memories of her because it was just too painful.
Yeah.
But my biggest memory of is lying, like almost like in her arm, and being with her. She was teaching me something out, like coloring in between the lines, but that's not, the action is not important. What is important is the feeling of her having me in her space, and they almost being no separation between me and her. So I feel like her teaching me the language of love, and for me the language of love is touch, and through actively saying I see you and I love you and I appreciate you to your kids and husband.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I love that. And just to mention of the last bit of your story, so I don't want to give away too much because the whole world still needs to see it. But you've also mentioned on your Instagram how you're a survivor of sexual abuse.
Yes.
Yes. And you've urged a lot of women to come forward and tell their stories and
Even if you just
out.
tell a person,
yeah.
just to get it out of you. So many, like me, I mean, I didn't say for 30 years, you know, that my stepbrother abused me. 30 years, I'm 38. I was 8 when it started.
Yeah.
And I know that some women go their whole lives
Yeah.
and they don't say, and it's, for me, the I don't know what your question was, sorry, I just jumped
It's
in
okay.
there. But like, for me, the value of me as a person in the public eye, to say, this happened to me, and there is life after, there's beautiful life after, is that there's still there is so much shame.
Yeah.
There's so much shame around saying that I was hurt in this way, in a sexual way, in an intimate way. Because it is so intimate. You know, it is your person. Your person feels as though it is damaged and tainted. It's the center of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is a big part of why it's so difficult for so many of us to say that I was hurt in this way. And then, of course, that not being able to express, we find ways then of coping with this secret.
Yeah.
And these ways are, by and large, quite unhealthy.
Yeah.
So for me, the benefit of me saying so is to say that, look, this happened to me. You know me. You know,
The girl who sings.
yeah. I'm the girl who sings, and I am living my life, and I've got this beautiful family, and but this is also a part of my story, and it is very hard. It is a very hard part of my story, and but it is. It is a part of my journey, and there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
For having had experienced that.
Yeah.
It's so not your fault.
Absolutely.
Release it. Even if you tell one person, one trustworthy person, pick your people. And if that's not the right person, fine. Find another one. Find that person that you can share this with.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry it alone, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's true. And would you say forgiveness played a role in you transitioning from being a victim to seeing yourself as a conqueror?
Yeah, I see it more as compassion, but yes, it is part of the same thing, because I look back now and I look at my stepbrother, who was only like, he can only have been about 5 or 6 years older than me. If I was 8 when it started, 12, let's say I have a sense that he must have been like 13 when it started, like 13 to 16, let's say. When I look back and I think about him, to me, he seemed a very unhappy person, unhappy child. And I will never excuse what he did, because we have a moral compass. We know, somewhere along the line we know. But I think something must have happened to him.
Yeah.
We know that he would want to offload his pain, his shame, whatever it was. So I think it's been amazing to come to a point of being able to see him in a compassionate light, and that has really helped me also to realize the humanity of it all.
Yeah.
My humanity, his humanity, the humanity of my stepmother, who was emotionally and verbally abusive, and sort of gave me an idea of myself as somebody who was not of much worth. I can look back now and I can think, I don't know that she meant to do that. I don't know that that's what she meant to do. I do know, knowing what I know now, that I could never be like that, and I could never be like that because I love myself.
I like that.
You know, and so most likely she wasn't in a position where she could love herself.
Yeah.
You know, when you act out like that, when you are in pain.
Yeah.
So it's not even it's not really about forgiveness. It's compassion for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that helps with releasing the thing. Release.
To wrap it up, what just a short message to the 8-year-old Zolani, knowing what you know now, feeling what you're feeling now.
Yeah.
What would you tell her if she were to read it somewhere or to listen to this podcast? Which is the shortest words.
I would say to her, you are innocent. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are lovable. You are loved. You have permission to feel.
I love that. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I have one more thing that I want to say.
Okay, say it.
What I want to say is, you know, I'm so interested in this notion of releasing or taking off things that are no longer necessarily a part of our story. I think as humans, the consequences of our sort of just living unconsciously have an effect on our planet.
Yes.
Are having visible effects on our planet. They're having visible effects on our societies at large. Whether we're here in South Africa, whether we are in America, whether we are in France. We're nearing the end of a decade. Sorry, you're putting this out in 2020. We are beginning a new decade. It's 2020.
Yeah.
2020 vision. There are very conscious choices that we can make now on the things that we want to take off. Take off as individuals. Take off as a nation. Take off as a species. So that we can move forward consciously into a future that we want to create. The point of letting go of all of these things that are no longer a real part of our story, the part of our story that we want to take forward into the future, the point of taking them off is that we can be free to receive the power to move on into the next. We've got to put them down.
Yeah.
Put down those cement blocks.
Love it.
Put down. Take
I
it
need
off.
a song from you about that. I mean, we'll hear it properly. It's in a song.
I actually have written a song, and I'll release it in the beginning of this. I will release it in the beginning of this year. It's called Izihlangu.
I love it.
It's called Shoes.
Wait,
I
you
did it in the play.
perform, yes.
I did it in the play.
I
So
love
this
that
song
song.
is it's about the things that have been passed down to us by our mothers.
Oh.
By our partners, things that aren't actually a part of our story anymore. Ziyandisokolisa ezizihlangu ndizithengelwe ngumama.
Love it.
Ziyandisokolisa ezizihlangu ndizithengelwe ngumama. Kodwa ndiyode ndifike Dio den figem daga mama, go otan, dio de nivike. Dio den figem daga mama.
Ah, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Cindy.
Can I call you Zozo from now on?
No, because it's confusing to me.
Why?
It's confusing to me because the only people who call me Zozo are my dad.
Okay. Oh,
And some members of my family. So it's very disorienting for me to hear people call me Zo or Zozo.
Okay, sis'Zolani. It is.
I love it.
I
love it.
Because I have people after me they're like, Zo. And I was like, actually sounds. And people on Instagram like to refer to you as Zo. I was like, actually, like, but sis'Zolani it is. Thank you so much. You literally made my dream come true. You giving me the nod meant so much. I went back home and I told my housemate that.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, because I literally, after I bought the ticket, I was like, guys, I'm going to ask her to be on my podcast.
Yeah.
And you giving me the nod and telling me that you love even the name of my podcast.
Absolutely.
Made me so happy. It was like the nod I needed from the universe and God. I promise you. Yes. So
You went for it and you made it happen.
yes.
Yay.
Thank you so
Talk
much.
about conscious creating.
All the best.
All the best.
On your journey.
Thank
on your
you.
solo career.
And you.
It's going to be amazing. From that one play, I have so much faith and belief in you. And trust me, I will be in all your plays that you are going to produce.
And come to my gigs.
Gigs, yes, of course, of course. I'm also going to come to your gigs. Thank you
Cindy,
so much.
You're
Love
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Wow, just right on time.
Oh, well done.
Right on.